Nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Shri Radha Damodar Ji ki Radha Madhava ki, Radha Girdhari ki, Gaur Premanandi, Jai Vishpad Paramahamsa Pravijayakacharya Sotar Sata Shishimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, text number 72, last verse in the chapter. Tamasmin pratyagatmanam diya yoga pravrittaya bhaktya viraktya jnanena Vivichatmani chintayet Tamasmin pratyagatmanam Diya yoga pravrittaya Bhaktya viraktya jnanena Vivichatmani chintayet Tamasmin pratyagatmanam Diya yoga pravrittaya Bhaktya viraktya jnanena Vivichatmani chintayet Tamasmin pratyagatmanam Diya yoga pravrittaya Bhaktya viraktya jnanena Vivichatmani chintayet Tamasmin pratyagatmanam Diya yoga pravrittaya Bhaktya viraktya jnanena Vivichatmani chintayet. Tam, unto him, capital H. Asmin, in this. Pratyak Atmanam, the super soul. Diya, with the mind. Yoga Pravrittaya, engaged in devotional service. Bhaktya, through devotion. Viraktya, through detachment. Jnanena, through spiritual knowledge. Vivitya, considering carefully. Atmani, in the body. Chintaye, one should contemplate. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that Supersoul is present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it. So I'll go ahead and read the previous verse since it says, therefore. Text 71 says, when a man is sleeping, all his material assets, namely the vital energy, the senses for recording knowledge, the senses for working, the mind and intelligence, cannot arouse him. He can be aroused only when the Supersoul helps him. So please repeat. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge, acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that Supersoul as present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it. Purport. One can realize this Supersoul within oneself. He's within one's body, but apart from the body, or transcendental to the body. Although sitting in the same body as the individual soul, the Supersoul has no affection for the body, whereas the individual soul does. One has to detach himself, therefore, from this material body by discharging devotional service. It's clearly mentioned here, bhaktya, that one has to execute devotional service to the Supreme, as it's stated in the first canto, second chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam 127. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Priyojitaha. When Vasudeva, the all-pervading Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is served in completely pure devotion, detachment from the material world immediately begins. The purpose of Sankhya is to detach oneself from material contamination. This can be achieved simply by devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When one is detached from the attraction of material prosperity, one can actually concentrate his mind upon the Supersoul. As long as the mind is distracted towards the material, there's no possibility of concentrating one's mind and intelligence upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead or His partial representation, Supersoul. In other words, one cannot concentrate one's mind and energy upon the Supreme unless one is detached from the material world. Following detachment from the material world, one can actually attain transcendental knowledge of the Absolute Truth. As long as one is engaged in sense enjoyment, Thank you. As long as one is entangled in sense enjoyment or material enjoyment, it's not possible to understand the Absolute Truth. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 18:54. One who is freed from material contamination is joyful and can enter into devotional service. And by devotional service, he can be liberated. In the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto, it's stated that one becomes joyful by discharging devotional service. In that joyful attitude, one can understand the science of God or Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it's not possible. The analytical study of the elements of material nature and the concentration of the mind upon the Supersoul are the sum and substance of the Sankhya philosophical system. The perfection of this Sankhya Yoga culminates in devotional service unto the Absolute Truth. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 26th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gnanjana Salakya Chakshurn Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavanishari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopaturubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Therefore, through devotion, detachment, and advancement in spiritual knowledge acquired through concentrated devotional service, one should contemplate that Supersoul is present in this very body, although simultaneously apart from it. So devotional service is so nice. Srila Prabhupada says that it's simultaneously sublime and easy. It's sublime because those who are the elevated Vaishnavas, who can perceive the Supersoul, or to speak of who can perceive, have direct experience of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that's the most sublime thing there is. I mean, so it's sublime for that reason. It is the method, it is the process whereby one can have direct experience, direct relationship, direct service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then it's easy because even the sadhakas, you and I, those aspiring for devotional service, those who are following the regulated principles of devotional service, we can also develop this knowledge and detachment from the material world. We can experience bhakti even in the earliest stages of devotional service. One point, Srila Prabhupada says, even those who are attached to the sensual platform can have this experience of bhakti. So these things are being, there's a nice verse in the 11th canto. I'll go ahead and read it verbatim so you get the full import. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord. This is 11.242. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who's taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way as pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. So, how is it that one who is attached to the sensual platform can have this devotional experience, can get the enlivenment, the nourishment, and the detachment from all things material? It's because in the process of devotional service, if we apply ourselves and just do what we're told and don't do what we're told not to do, then we get the benefit of as if we had the realization. Krishna is pleased through the mercy of the spiritual master. Supersoul is pleased. So this analogy of eating, everyone can appreciate that analogy. I mean, it is one of the mainstays of enlivenment for the devotees, honoring Krishna Prasadam. Devotion, that's compared to the pleasure that one receives from taking nice prasadam. Devotional service, the similarity is that devotional service is ecstatic. Even in the youngest stages, the early stages, in sadhana bhakti, where one hasn't actually acquired transcendental knowledge, one is not liberated, one is not entered into direct, unalloyed devotional service. Even at the earliest stages, if there wasn't some reciprocation of mercy and bliss coming down, then nobody would stick around. There has to be some taste. That's what is inspiring everybody to do whatever they're doing so that they can be happy. And then it's said to be similar to pushti, the nourishment of eating, because when one engages in devotional service, it nourishes the soul. It fulfills our constitutional necessity of surrendering to and engaging in loving devotional service to Krishna. And then, very nice, this analogy of becoming, with every bite, satisfied, less and less hungry. The hunger goes far away and it finally dissipates. It's finished. But unlike eating, when you're fully absorbed in honoring wonderful prasadam, you don't really want to be disturbed. It's not like in the middle of prasadam you want to jump up and do anything else. You're not interested in any other activities. You just want to honor prasadam. So for those who are engaged in devotional service, it's the same way. If you're absorbed in devotional service, you don't want to be distracted by anything else. This is your fulfillment. This is your total pleasure in life. It's the goal. It's the means. It's perfection to engage in devotional service to Krishna and his devotees. But the difference between the mundane analogy of eating and becoming satisfied, in eating at a certain point, I can't have any more. Even when you're really surrendering, you right up to the neck, and you're completely stuffed. At that point, you want to give up the eating. But in devotional service, it doesn't matter how much you engage in. It doesn't matter how difficult it is, how challenging it is. For the real devotees, the surrendered devotees, they never want to give it up. In fact, they only want more, give me more. They will never give it up, no matter how Krishna reciprocates with them. Last prayer of the Shashastika. He can be nice to me, he can embrace me, or he can kick me away. But I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue trying my best to please him. So this is the difference between the analogy. But the analogy is very nice. This bhakti compared to tushti, this para isha, what is it? Para isha anabhava. This service to the Supreme Lord. And then the last being vavrikktir, what is it? Cha, anyantra cha. Detached from everything material. Everything. You see, the two principles being discussed, really three, but let's center in on like the verse that was quoted, Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Priyojita. How does that go? Janati ashu vairagyam jnana cha yad ahaitakam. That automatically, as if causelessly, knowledge and detachment, they arise within the devotee. And one has to understand these two things of knowledge and detachment. Knowledge in and of itself, and we can also speak in that regards about this Sankhya philosophy. Although Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita tells Arjuna, really one who understands that Sankhya and Buddha Yoga are one and the same, he gets the benefit of both. One purport, Srila Prabhupada says, Sankhya Yoga is trying to understand what is the root of all existence. What's the cause, the origin of all existence, including myself. And Bhakti is watering that root of everything that be. So the essence, the purpose of both is the same. If we understand that, then we get the full benefit. Just like we've just gotten through finishing these fundamental principles of material nature. Now, honestly, I think it's above and beyond most of us. This whole, activity of creation. It's pretty inconceivable. As Srila Prabhupada would often say, we don't even understand how our body works, what to speak of, the universe. They don't even know, how hair grows really. It grows, but try and replicate that or this or that. If they really had a product that cured baldness, period, everybody would use it in this, how would you say, vain, shallow culture that we are surrounded by. Everybody would use it. But no, They don't understand any of these things. So it's an inconceivable thing. But we can wrap our mind around hearing submissively and attentively. We can repeat these words, these concepts, and if we engage in devotional service, then they can be brought to life within the heart. And what does that mean? It means that we can apply the essence and understand the purpose of all this transcendental knowledge. The purpose was given in this verse: surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead in unalloyed devotional service. That's the whole point. If one instead simply centers on acquiring all the knowledge, but misses the point of surrendering to Krishna, his knowledge is useless. Now, if it's in the devotional vein, there's atheistic Sankhya, there's devotional Sankhya that we're hearing by Kapila Dev, son of Devahuti. If I say useless, if he doesn't surrender 100% but remains attached to the knowledge and the pride that comes with people recognizing how scholarly and learned you are. So often we relate these things to advanced, but they're not necessarily synonymous, not at all. And if we remain attached to the material aspect of it, that which is the lack of surrender, then we'll have to take birth again to take up the lessons from where we left off. In the same way with detachment. Detachment is first of all, there's two words. There's vairagya and there's tyag. There's renunciation and there's detachment. Often in the immature state of devotional service, we think that renunciation is the same as detachment, but not necessarily at all. I remember when I was joining the temple in Dallas. Before doing so, I had to wrap up all my material affairs. I had lots of things. And I gave them away to my closest friends or family members. Kind of wrote a letter to my best friend saying, I'm giving all this up. I'm going to I'm becoming a devotee. I'm going to practice Krishna consciousness. I met him some years later, and he showed me that later, and he said, Raymond, it's as if you were writing your will and dying. And it was an immature understanding. There are many things that I possess that could have been donated to the temple and used in Krishna's service. The one thing that they did get was the car, which was a good snag. But renunciation, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, that's perfect when one is attached to something for one's own selfish sense enjoyment. Then you should renounce it. But the advanced devotee, he's not interested in renunciation in and of itself. It's like Narottam says in so many songs, the concept, I don't care if you're a householder or if you're a renounced, sannyasi living in the forest. If you're attached to the Lord, if you're chanting Hare Krishna and your only desire is to please the Lord, then I beg you for your association. I'm very desirous of your association. Pundarik Vidyanidhi is the perfect example. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in more modern times. So many things, wealth, prestige, etc. But all used in the service of the Lord. So why would they give any of it up? The pure, advanced, unalloyed devotee sees how anything and everything can be used in the service of the Lord. So they could own the whole world. Many devotees have in the histories described in srimadbhagavatam. The whole world being under their guidance, their rule. But they used everything in Krishna's service. It was not a hindrance to their going back home to Godhead via the medium of concentrated, pure, unalloyed devotional service. So this is the goal for any and all of us. That we surrender in pure devotional service. In the beginning, we mix the impure with the pure. It's called mixed devotional service, and that's often the case in the lower level of sadhana bhakti. That we maintain some desires. One thing to have these desires, but acting upon the desires, that's a whole other ballgame. It's much, much worse. Kali Yuga, we're not held accountable for the thoughts that we have. It's not like that in any other age. But the problem with thoughts is, this relates to the supersoul. The supersoul has no attachment for the body or any of the activities of the body. None. Could care less. It's inferior matter. And it is the medium whereby the conditioned soul is not surrendering to him. But he accompanies us since time immemorial, since the beginning of our sojourn in this material existence. He's our witness, and he sanctions the fulfillment of desires. So it's wonderful that the Lord is so kind, our best friend in this way. He never abandons us. He always sees what we do, especially in relationship to trying to serve him. That's the good news. He notes everything and never forgets anything. The bad news is, in the same sense, he's aware of every desire we have. And to the degree that we put energy into that, thinking, feeling, willing, wanting to, or as it's said in the Bhagavad Gita, contemplating the objects of the senses, becoming attached to them, then you jump into it. You become, deluded, bewildered, losing all intelligence. No knowledge there. For one who's engaged in sense gratification, where's the transcendental knowledge? You may know Shastra backwards and forwards, but if you're engaged in devotional service, that's not spiritual knowledge. That's not realized transcendental knowledge. It's the reflection of it. It may look, like these words are printed on paper. It may sound like transcendental knowledge, but for the perceiver or the hearer of this, they can contaminate because of their own filter of sense gratification and turn it into the mundane. And they don't get the benefit of the transcendental message spoken by the Supreme Lord or his representatives. It depends upon us and our desire, and the Lord within the heart's fully aware of our desire. So we have to be careful how we desire, what we want, what we think. The whole process is scientific. By absorbing ourselves in this transcendental sound vibration, in the service of Krishna, purifying the senses and the mind, developing a taste for these topics, then it purifies everything else. One who is a devotee, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati yakinchana sarvagunastatra samasate sara. One who is a devotee of the Lord, all good qualities develop. Transcendental knowledge and detachment certainly being two of them. But as Arjuna asks very early on in the Bhagavad Gita, how do you know who such a personality is? How does such a liberated soul, transcendental soul, act, talk, walk, speak, etc.? And what does Krishna center in on? He centers in on that he has no desire for sense gratification. So, as it was stated in this purport, that's the purpose of Sankhya Yoga, to bring us to the point of wanting to give up the inferior, to give up entanglement in material sense gratification. And that's actually the purpose behind any type of elevating activity, to control the senses. So in devotional service, it's very easy to control the senses. Any other process besides devotional service, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali, shanta, they can't do it. They never become satisfied. Only the devotee can become peaceful. Even if the desire's there, he can remain peaceful because he's got the higher engagement. What to speak of when the taste takes place? Susukam kartam avyam, ecstatic, fully joyful. Once having achieved this, he thinks that there's nothing else to be achieved. This is it. And you might use common terminology, say it doesn't get any better. And the karmis use that saying when they're enjoying some really, elated experience of sense gratification. Doesn't get any better than that. But for the devotee, the process is superior also, and that way we can say it doesn't get any better. But in terms of devotional service, it just keeps getting better. As long as we continue to surrender and stay absorbed in the process as it's given to us, it just gets better. Doesn't get any better than this until the next mantra, the next round, the next prasadam, the next class, the next kirtan. It just keeps getting more and more blissful. The absorption, the taste grows. Now, we have to be enthusiastic to experience this. We have to be confident, that's the faith, that this is it, nothing else is necessary. Everything will be accomplished and fulfilled by execution of devotional service. That's strong confidence or faith. But we also have to be patient, because it's not simply by our own endeavor and desire that it takes place. The Lord and His devotees have to sanction. So we have to be patient. But if we are patient, the Lord, His representatives, the material energy, etc., they test, and if the devotee progressively passes the test, then by the grace of the Lord, by the grace of the devotees, then one makes rapid advancement. One is actually given transcendental knowledge, and one is given the ability to control the senses. When one reaches a certain point in devotional service, controlling the senses is as easy as anything. Coming up in a couple of days, Gorkashore Das Babaji, Raghunath Das Goswami, so many examples of these devotees who were so absorbed in serving the Lord on the transcendental platform, they completely neglected the external body and its activities and relationships of this world. They acted by everybody else's calculation as madmen. How can you do that? They're not fools. They're not giving up anything valuable. And these examples are set there in our culture, in our history, so that we can understand when you surrender to Krishna, you're not the loser. You get something more precious than anything of this world, of any universe, from the highest planet to the lowest. Devotional service is inconceivably more valuable and fulfilling. So we have two of the verses in the Dhammadarastikam. What's his name? Satya Vrata Muni. He says, all I don't want anything but constant darshan of Damodar within my heart. All I long for is prema bhakti. Anything and everything else, tucham, kick out as insignificant, as dirty, as filthy. The Lord has no attachment to the material body. The devotee has no attachment to the material body. So because of that, they can engage in things which the non-devotees would consider impossible. Not understanding how a devotee could give up these things. But the devotees of Lord Chaitanya are known for their detachment in devotional service, for sure. The eternal associates of the Lord were simply absorbed in His service. And Srila Prabhupada is a perfect example. This morning I heard of a couple more examples that I'd never heard of Srila Prabhupada's austerities in devotional service. There's an offering of Prithu Prabhu, Vyasa Puja offering. And I'm going to put it in the context, which I will lead the discussion in the direction of. But there's a verse in the 8th canto, 744, where, quote, it is said that great personalities almost always accept voluntary suffering. Tapyante, lokatapena. Why? Because of the suffering of the people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshiping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. In other words, the devotees see the suffering of the conditioned souls, and they've been instructed by their spiritual master to help. Just as the spiritual master's delivered the devotee is given the same mandate. You be the instrument to deliver others. So austerities are undertaken by the devotees to try and fulfill that service. And it shows the determination, it shows the intense desire of those who are truly elevated Vaishnavas. Srila Prabhupada, when he first moved to Vrindavan, we've heard that he moved into that temple down there by Keshi Ghat, He wasn't in the Radha Damodar temple when he first moved to Vrindavan. But there's one associate of Srila Prabhupada. He was a doctor. His name was Narottam Gupta, Ayurvedic doctor, Srila Prabhupada's in Vrindavan. And he told Prithu that when Srila Prabhupada first moved to Vrindavan, this Dr. Gupta met Srila Prabhupada living in those cave-like rooms that are in the wall along the Keshi Ghat, along the Jamuna. I don't know if the Jamuna still flows there, if the water's still there, but when you do the parikrama path, you walk by and they just had those enclaves and those old, centuries-old brick walls. And Srila Prabhupada was living for a year, according to this doctor, in these caves. And as a result of it, living through the hot summer and the cold winter and all the mosquitoes, etc., the doctor, how do you say it? Not served. We'll say served. He served Srila Prabhupada, helping him with having gotten malaria several times. And he finally told him, if you don't move into a proper room, you're going to die. But Srila Prabhupada was poor as dirt. He had nothing. He didn't even have money when he took Vanapras and moved to Vrindavan. He didn't even have money to rent a room. And this doctor put forth the money to begin with, his first room there, that Srila Prabhupada stayed in. Another example is Srila Prabhupada's austerity, and it's all in line with his vision of, I have to surrender to the impossible order given to me by my spiritual master, to go to the West and preach Krishna consciousness. Another example that shows this, that this is how it all connects, when he was in Radha Damodar temple, Pragya Keshava Maharaj came with another devotee to visit Srila Prabhupada. It was in the middle of winter, and it gets really cold, bone-chilling cold in Vrindavan in the winter sometimes. And they saw Srila Prabhupada, who had a really bad cold, sleeping on a grass mat on the floor. And they said, why don't you buy a bed? And he said, I don't want to waste the money. I want to spend every paisa on books. So he was so absorbed in the instruction and mission of his spiritual master that personal sacrifice, no price was too high to pay to attempt to please his spiritual master in that way. This one is just a little drop of nectar that I had not heard, also third drop in this offering, but it just shows the nectar, the confidence, the faith. Dr. Gupta, when he would go on the Chattakara road, which is now Bhaktivedanta Swami road, which leads in front of, it goes from Vrindavan out to the Agra Delhi highway, which is now a highway, used to be just a road. But he would often, several times, he saw Srila Prabhupada in Raman Reti, where the present Krishna Balaram Mandir exists, sitting out there alone, used to be the sands of Raman Reti, sitting underneath a tree with a pair of kartals and chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he noted it several times. Evidently his business took him to Delhi a number of times. And he saw Bhaktivedanta Swami out there chanting all by himself. And he is convinced, he knows it was the location of what came to be the Krishna Balaram Mandir, and he's convinced that it was under the same tree that is still there in the courtyard of our temple. So, when we talk about knowledge, the spiritual master, the pure devotees are given all the knowledge they need to execute their devotional service. Everything they need to know. It doesn't mean that the spiritual master is omniscient. I mean, talking with the Prabhus in breakfast, Srila Prabhupada admitted this fifth canto and these principles of fundamental nature or the cosmology of the universe, Srila Prabhupada said, I don't have such a good understanding. Does it really matter? Obviously not. If you understand the essence and the purpose of any and all this knowledge, then you will surrender to Krishna wholeheartedly, which of course Srila Prabhupada did in the most stellar, most exemplary way, in which everyone can aspire to follow the example. No one in this Kali Yuga, I think it's pretty safe to say, it's said by others, and I'll repeat the words, no one's going to repeat what Srila Prabhupada has done. He was the one, he's that great soul who pleases the Lord most by having undergone the transcendental austerities in devotional service, and who was given the fulfillment of his title as Bhaktivedanta. The Lord fully empowered him so that he could give you and me the opportunity to take up the same process. So are there any questions or comments in this regard? Yes, Dravida Prabhu.
It's kind of an obvious answer, but it's just interesting the way you find the second paragraph of the purport, and with one who is free from material contamination is joyful and can enter into devotional service, and by devotional service he can be liberated. But the very next sentence, beginning in the next paragraph, by discharging devotional service, one becomes free. In that joyful attitude, one can understand the science of rest. In other words, there's a kind of a, which is first the chicken or the egg type of thing. I think that, it's clear that by taking part in the devotional service, even with limited understanding, as you mentioned, there's a certain taste that develops. And this draws you on to investigate the science and take it more seriously. And in that way, the detachment takes place. But to try to separate it out, this is the thing, to do Sankhya without bhakti is dry as dust. And you're analyzing all these things, but you're not getting to the point of actual.
The best you'll get out of it when you're doing it on your own is impersonal liberation. These philosophers, these great thinkers on these Vedic texts and what have you. How can you, with your own imagination, come up with the son of Mother Yasoda in Vrindavan? I don't think so. Yeah, we're very fortunate. The process and the goal are, in the absolute sense, one and the same. An unripe mango and a ripe mango are both mangoes, and both have their purposes. Bhaktisiddhanta, although taking the vow never to eat another mango, he never ate another ripe mango. But he really appreciated mango chutney and pickle. Yeah, because they are simultaneously one, but they're definitely different. So we should be more happy. Srila Prabhupada would often ask the devotees, are you happy? Is everything okay? He really, really cared. Are you satisfied? Are you comfortable? Do you have everything you need, all your necessities, do you have them so that you can engage in devotional service? He really genuinely meant it. And as such, he would sign his letters, your ever well-wisher. So, more happy now than we've ever been, and it'll only get better. At least I hope you are. I certainly can say I feel more blessed than ever. Just gets better, doesn't it? I think every one of us would answer yes to that. Any addition, Bhakta Larry?
You mentioned something like if someone follows the instructions given, even if they haven't fully realized it, they follow it, they get the same benefit. It reminds me, I also heard from my devotees that an intelligent person will accept instructions from someone and apply it in their devotional life, and a less intelligent person will hear the instructions but won't follow it and have to make mistakes until they rectify their situation. But it's also said that out of Gyan and Vigyan, that the Vigyan, the realized knowledge, is better than the theoretical knowledge. So I'm wondering if someone who just accepted the instruction theoretically, are they really more intelligent than the person that actually realized the knowledge?
No, they're not as realized, they're not as intelligent. When we say intelligent in this context, we would be talking about spiritual intelligence. So the one who is not realized is not as intelligent. I thought you were going to ask, are they more intelligent than others who haven't even done that?
Are they considered more intelligent for accepting the instruction and not having to make mistakes to become realized in the knowledge?
They, repeat it one more time, so. Because I thought you were asking, are the less advanced more intelligent than the advanced? And that seems obvious, no.
Well, saying, I'm sorry, I'm trying to, the person